Rappers and producers, whether you're making a rap album or whether you're making a beat tape, promoting your album is so much more than sharing links. I learned this lesson. Let's talk about it. Rappers and producers, those of you that partake in the creation of an album, congratulations if you just finished one. Best of luck if you just started one. You and I both know, let me move up here for a second, make it more intimate, pause. You and I both know that the process of creating an album can be a very tall task. It can be something that takes months and months. It can be something that takes years for somebody. But regardless of how long it takes, when we have this piece of art that we present to the people, we want to make sure that it gets to as many people as possible. I always make videos that say get to the most relevant people as possible, which is why it's such a heartbreaking experience to see somebody work so damn hard on their album, whether it's a beat tape, whether it's like I said, a full-length project or an EP, doesn't matter. All the mixing and mastering that went into it, the graphic design that went into it, all the strategic marketing that maybe you did with your manager or your buddies, all the things that you talked about. It's so disheartening to see a creative go through this process only to bring it to the masses and just share a few links for a few weeks. This is a long play. This is a long-term play that you must get used to. When you're promoting an album, it is more than a release date. It is more than just building up the buzz. It is more than just, sharing a few links on your social media. You have to be prepared for this to be an experience that will probably take over the next, 4 to 6 months of your life. And that doesn't mean that you have to actively stay on social media during that time. That means that you have to have an active plan that reminds people and reminds them over and over again about this project of yours that is out. It says a lot about you in the way that you value your craft when, I don't care if it's a music video, I don't care what it is. If you're putting it out and you're only promoting it for a few days, you're only just sending the link out, what you're kind of subconsciously telling the audience is that there's not really too much depth to it except for the link. Go check it out. It's a video. So what? I'll make another one. Unless that's your campaign and that's the way you do things, by all means. But if you really want to make an impact with the album that you put together, you're going to have to start creating other pieces of, which I want to stay away from the word content, and really just messaging. You want to create as many messages as possible. Something I learned during the campaign of the Somersault Project, which thank you again for pushing it up to number 4 on the iTunes hip hop charts. I want to say this. I learned that it is a lot more. I knew this years ago, but I learned even now, it's a lot more than just sharing a link. Honestly, rappers and producers, you have to wear multiple hats. If you're independent, if you don't have a team, you got to wear multiple hats. You're partly a documentarian if you think about it. You have to document your process, have the behind the scenes video, behind the scenes photos. You got to tell people about the ideas that came from it. If you're not getting interviews, you got to create those interviews for yourself. You almost have to be a journalist yourself, a blogger yourself. You have to figure out things that tell the story or the message of your project. For instance, when I did those special edition Curspiration videos, the one about anger and the one about 30 days away from social media, that if you look at those on paper, they don't really say go buy my album. This is about buying my album. This is about sharing a message that conveys the same message as the album. So it's not really a direct sell, as they would say. It's not a hard sale where I'm telling people, hey, I went through some anger issues, but this album is going to help you get through those anger issues. I didn't do that. What I did was I loosely based the message off of the message of the project. And in the background, what do you hear? If you go back and revisit those videos, you start to hear some of the music from the project. So in turn, I'm already getting you used to the idea and the concept that the message that this album stands for, which is self-help, which is self-responsibility, which is overcoming anger, which is having a terrible summer and making it into one of the greatest summers of your life. All those messages are things that I could have basically bitten off more content or messaging from. And I'll give you an example. I tell you, before I created those 2 videos, those are the ones I landed on. I had about 8 video ideas. I even had ideas like how being a vegan affected the way that I made music. I had another video that I wanted to do, and I'm still going to do these videos actually because, like I said, the campaign does not stop just because the project is out. I had another video that said, what were some of the positive things that happened in the summer? How did it affect the music? What will I want my son to be to learn from this Somersault EP? So many videos that you can create that's going to draw attention. Let me tell you, if you go and check on my Twitter right now, those videos about overcoming anger and the 30 days away from social media, that's content that will live on forever, right? It's going to be far beyond, because we already know there's always you build the anticipation up for a project, it gets to a peak, and then people get excited about it, they talk about it, and then it starts to tailor off and it starts to dip down and people's interest drops. And then you drop another music video and it kind of goes back up and then it kind of sways back down. And if you don't drop anything else, it just kind of goes out into the oblivion. So it's up to you to create messaging, create videos that keep the conversation going. It's funny because all the music videos that I edited and directed myself, all of those, the content that I created, the messaging that I created along the way, it didn't rival the 30 days away from social media video because it applied to everybody. So here's the thing about it. When you create videos and you create other messaging that loosely is based upon that, you're bringing people in. I had somebody describe to me one time, one of my rap mentors described to me, he was like, your goal is to basically own a building, okay? And that's not figuratively speaking, but you're owning a building, right? The building is, the building where you're going to house all of the people who are interested or possibly interested in your music, okay? It's your job to make as much noise as possible in that building to where it attracts more people to want to walk inside that building. But once the people are in that building, you can close the door and you can determine whatever rules you want from there. You can show them whatever you want to show, but you got to get them in the building. That 30 days away from social media gets them in the building. This guy seems like a really cool guy. He's really well spoken too. I wonder if he has any videos on YouTube. You know what? That's crazy. He talks about overcoming anger. I went through the same things. Man, and he raps too. I wonder what his music sounds like. I wonder if it's just as inspirational. You start tying these things together. They're all extensions of who you are. Even if you're not, quote unquote, a documentarian, get with the video director. It's way too important for you not to. When they say that this game now, if you see there my campaign, I only released one song. And that was really just to kind of fill in some space in between a music video coming out. But in all actuality, I didn't have to release that song because, I had a DJ tell me a song doesn't exist until the video comes out. So what I did was I said, okay, he's speaking, I assume about a music video, but if there's other videos that attach to that, how long can I extend the life of this song? How long can I now, how present can that song be? But because I started to share other pieces of content that fall into that. So when you think about, the 30 days away from social media video, that song was directly related to a song called Ghost. I Gotta Go Ghost. Far from sight, far from mind. These things are lyrics from the songs that I can loosely base new messaging, new videos from. Even like when you think about, I had some tweets that went up that were all scheduled tweets from I don't know if you ever heard of Hootsuite, HOOTESUITE.com. It's the one with the owl. But basically, I was sending out tweets that had the hashtag Somersault, but it didn't feel like I was selling anything to anybody. I was basically reminding them certain quotes and things that aligned with the project. Not even lyrics, just quotes. Like I had one that said, nobody wants to be miserable forever. Somersault. Because people are looking at that and saying, man, I can relate to that. And what are they doing? They're sharing those. I meant to mention it earlier, but the 30 days away from social media ended up having like 100 something likes and like 75 retweets. Now that'd have been amazing for it to be a part of a song or a video, but that's not realistic. If nobody knows who you are, why should they share it? But if they can resonate with that message and that brings all this attention to a timeline that has music along the same timeline, I've already won because I'm exposing it to as many people as possible that is relevant to my particular message. I've made the message very clear. I've already how do they say it? I framed the narrative. So now you know exactly what this project stands for and what the messaging is. My friends, this is just a trip into the mind of your friend Curtis King, who understands that promoting an album or a beat tape is so much more than pushing a link. Start thinking of other messages you can get out and other platforms that you can do that on. Once again, it's another Curtspiration. Doodle, you need some more of this juice? Please subscribe to the channel below. Be a part of the notification gang. Why you didn't pay for this shirt, though? I just needed to say that. NoFreeBeatsClothing.com. And to come back to the topic at hand, what are some other ways that you have found success, rappers and producers, when promoting your projects? You know, what are some non-traditional ways that you've used certain platforms? You know, I've even seen rappers who will start to podcast on SoundCloud in anticipation just to appeal to an audience of people who are thinkers who would appreciate the music, because your music is merely just the soundtrack to what your message is anyways. So just figure out other messages. In this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. CurtisKingBeats.com.
I can't listen to you. When I listen to you, it's a liability, cause you be mentally killing my inner energy. So I'm concealing my feelings before you injure me.